The crucifixion of Jesus has always been surrounded by mystery and deep questions. Many have wondered, if Jesus was truly the Son of God, why didn't the Father intervene at that moment of agony? According to the psychic and mystic Edgar Cayce, the crucifixion was not an accident, but a divinely orchestrated event, a cosmic plan unfolding before human eyes. Cayce described the cross not merely as a Roman instrument of torture, but as an ancient sacred symbol. Its very shape, with a vertical and horizontal line crossing at the center, held hidden spiritual meaning known to early civilizations. The vertical line represents the connection between the human and the divine, the path that leads upward toward God. The horizontal line symbolizes our journey on earth, the lessons, relationships, and struggles of everyday life. When Jesus was raised upon the cross, Cayce said, these two dimensions, the earthly and the heavenly, met perfectly in one moment of divine alignment. Suspended between heaven and earth, Jesus became the living bridge between humanity and God, between matter and spirit. In that sacred instant, the separation that had existed since the fall of mankind began to dissolve. For Cayce, the crucifixion was not simply an act of suffering, it was a cosmic event of transformation, where the physical, emotional, and spiritual worlds converged. Through that moment of immense pain, a new era of spiritual awakening was being born, an era in which every soul could once again find the path back to the divine source. Edgar Cayce believed that when Jesus hung upon the cross, a transformation was taking place on a scale far beyond human perception. It was not only a moment of pain, it was a cosmic operation of healing. According to Cayce, the cross became a portal of energy, where the most intense forces of darkness and light met in perfect balance. In that moment, Jesus carried not just a physical burden, but the spiritual weight of all humanity, every fear, every hatred, every contradiction that has ever existed. He absorbed within himself the tension between love and violence, forgiveness and revenge, faith and despair. Like a divine alchemist, he transmuted all this suffering into light, proving that love can transform even the deepest darkness. Cayce described each drop of Christ's blood as containing a unique vibrational frequency, an energy so pure that it could purify the human soul. When that sacred blood touched the earth, it was said to have reactivated ancient spiritual centers, energy points on the planet that had been dormant for ages. The entire universe responded, as if the crucifixion ignited a new wave of consciousness radiating across dimensions. This, Cayce explained, was the true meaning of the event, not punishment, but renewal. The crucifixion marked the end of one era, the age of rigid law, and opened the age of grace, in which all souls could directly connect with the divine without intermediaries. The tearing of the temple veil symbolized this new reality. The sacred was no longer hidden behind rituals or barriers. Through the cross, every heart gained access to the divine light. The instrument of death had become the ultimate symbol of resurrection, balance, and awakening. According to Edgar Cayce, the story of the crucifixion holds layers of hidden wisdom that go far beyond traditional religious interpretation. He taught that Jesus' suffering was not just meant to be witnessed, but understood as a spiritual initiation, a living symbol of what every soul must experience on its path to enlightenment. Cayce often referred to the cross as a universal pattern, a sacred geometry representing the human condition. Every person, he said, carries their own cross within them. It is formed at the intersection of our earthly desires and our divine calling. When we face pain, loss, or betrayal, these are not random trials, they are part of the same process that Jesus embodied, the transformation of the self through love and surrender. Through this lens, the crucifixion becomes a mirror of the soul. It reveals that true resurrection cannot occur without the symbolic death of the ego, the part of us that clings to pride, fear, and illusion. Cayce taught that when Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," he was expressing the highest frequency of consciousness, pure compassion that transcends judgment and time. In this moment, Jesus demonstrated that divine love is not conditional, but eternal. His words carried a vibration powerful enough to heal karma itself, showing humanity that forgiveness is not weakness, but the ultimate act of creation. To Cayce, this was the hidden teaching of the cross, that every human being has the potential to awaken this same divine love within themselves, and when they do, they too will rise beyond pain, beyond death, into the eternal light of spirit. In Edgar Cayce's readings, the crucifixion was not just a historical event, it was a cosmic phenomenon that altered the energetic fabric of the earth itself. He described the scene at Golgotha as a point of immense spiritual activity, where heaven and earth converged in a single pulse of divine power. Cayce revealed that when Jesus released his final breath, a vibrational shockwave rippled across the planet. Ancient records, he said, hinted at strange natural signs that accompanied this moment: the darkened sky, the trembling ground, and the tearing of the temple veil. These were not mere coincidences. They symbolized the awakening of the planet's spiritual grid, as though the earth itself was responding to the divine act unfolding upon it. Through this event, the Christ energy, a universal consciousness of pure love, was permanently anchored into the physical world. From that moment onward, humanity gained access to a new frequency of spiritual awareness. Cayce described this as a living current of divine light that flows through all creation, subtly guiding human evolution. Those sensitive to higher energies could feel this shift as a new vibration of compassion and unity spreading through collective consciousness. It marked the beginning of what Cayce called the return of the Christ spirit within each soul, the awakening of the divine spark that connects all beings. In this view, the crucifixion was not only about one man's death, it was the birth of planetary transformation, a sacred alignment that would echo through centuries, calling each generation to rediscover the light that was ignited on that hill long ago. While most traditions view the resurrection as the miraculous return of Jesus's body, Edgar Cayce interpreted it as something far greater, a quantum leap in human consciousness. He taught that the resurrection was not only about one man rising from death, but about the awakening of divine potential within all of humanity. Cayce explained that when Jesus reappeared after the crucifixion, he was no longer bound by the limitations of the physical world. His body had become a light body, a form of pure energy that transcended space and time. This transformation, Cayce said, revealed what awaits every soul that achieves true spiritual balance. The resurrection was proof that matter itself can be spiritualized, that death is not an end, but a doorway into higher realms of existence. Through his victory over death, Jesus opened a path for every human being to follow. The message was clear: the same divine essence that resurrected Christ lives within each of us. When the soul overcomes fear, hatred, and attachment, it too experiences a resurrection, an inner rising into divine awareness. Cayce urged seekers to see the resurrection not as a distant miracle, but as an invitation to transformation. Each time we choose forgiveness over anger, or compassion over judgment, we resurrect a part of our divine nature. In this way, the resurrection became more than a story, it became a living process, unfolding within every heart that dares to awaken. For Cayce, this was the eternal promise of Christ, that through love, every soul can rise again, just as he did, into the infinite light of God. In the final understanding of Edgar Cayce, the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus are not simply episodes in sacred history, they form a living blueprint for the evolution of the human soul. The cross and the empty tomb together reveal the deepest secret of existence, that spirit is eternal, and love is the true power that governs all creation. Cayce taught that every individual carries within them a spark of the Christ consciousness, the same divine light that guided Jesus through death into immortality. Life's trials, sorrows, and sacrifices are not punishments, they are the stages of our own crucifixion, opportunities to transcend the lower self and awaken the divine within. When we face suffering with courage, compassion, and forgiveness, we are walking the same spiritual path that Jesus demonstrated so perfectly. The cross, then, becomes more than a religious symbol, it is a universal map of transformation. Its vertical line reminds us to reach upward toward God, while the horizontal line teaches us to extend love outward toward others. Where these two meet lies the heart, the sacred center where heaven and earth unite. For Cayce, this was the true victory of Christ, not over enemies, but over illusion. The resurrection was not only his return to life, it was the revelation that life itself can never be destroyed. And so, the eternal message of the cross continues to whisper through time, you, too, are divine. You, too, can rise. Every act of kindness, every prayer, every moment of forgiveness brings humanity one step closer to that radiant truth, the awakening of the Christ light within us all. And so, the story of the crucifixion is not one of tragedy, but of transformation. Edgar Cayce's visions remind us that beyond the pain, beyond the suffering, lies a truth both eternal and intimate, the divine spark within every soul. The cross was never meant to inspire fear, it was meant to awaken remembrance. When we look upon it, we are called to remember who we truly are, beings of light, temporarily bound to flesh, yet destined to rise beyond it. Just as Jesus transcended death, we too are invited to transcend our limitations, to forgive, to love, and to awaken. In the silence beyond the cross, the message still echoes, the spirit cannot die. Love conquers all. And in that eternal promise, humanity finds not an ending, but the beginning of our journey back to the divine source.